Welcome back. Good evening. You're watching NewsX, and our top story continues to be something that has caught the fancy of the television viewing public, and why shouldn't it? A day after Shiv Sena MP, Mr. Gaikwad, Ravindra Gaikwad, assaulted an Air India staffer and shamelessly defended his act and then confessed on national television. Questions abound whether or not the right to recall is the only way to deal with such errant netas. NewsX was the first channel to bring you the right to recall issue, and we debated it during last month and before as well. Parliamentarians have debated the same, but not with the serious amount of time it deserves or needs. The question, of course, central to this debate is the right to recall the only way in getting these errant MPs and netas in line? Take a look at the developments in the Gaikwad story. We'll come back to the panel in just a bit. We'll also open our phone calls, so stay tuned for that.
When you get elected, it's 40%. 60% anyway against you. So right of recall is going to be certainty for anybody. There will be chaos. Right of recall. He should be shamed. He should be punished. That would be more appropriate.
This is a very big issue. If you ask that right to recall, it's not on this solitary issue that we should be debated on this. But at the same time, no flying list, inclusion of his name in no flying list, it can be done. The power is there with all the authorities, but it can be. But that law has to withstand the scrutiny of the judicial scrutiny. Otherwise, it is not permissible for them to enact such a law.
So, but right to recall as law minister, do you think at least a debate should begin now because of such incidents?
It's not on this solitary incident. There may be some, but you can't say that only on this incident. There must be a debate on this issue.
All right, we're opening our phone lines. Numbers are flashing on your screens right now. You can call us, WhatsApp us. We'll put you on air. And we'll do that throughout the course of this show. My only condition is keep it parliamentary. Do not give calls to violence and do not incite people here. Those are the only rules here. Otherwise, we include free speech and we welcome it. All right, let's introduce our guests at this point. Joining us in the studio, Dilip Cherry, an image guru, political analyst, a man that wears many hats. We'll also be going across to our second guest. But Dilip Cherry, let me start with you right now. This is one story that has caught the fancy, the imagination of not just the media in the country, but also viewing public. I remember yesterday I got 30 phone calls in a matter of 25 minutes. That has to be an indication how strongly the people feel about such arrogance, such VIP arrogance.
I think there are two big issues here. One is that we've unleashed a new middle class who flies, and therefore everybody has the experience of somebody or the other who has a high sense of entitlement, messing around with them when they're standing in line or when they're being served. So this is one reason. And the second reason is that the new India that Modi is trying to create and which is engendering everybody to talk about actually involves citizens standing up for their rights. So I think between these two, it's necessary that there be a huge upsurge of interest in this story.
I think you're onto something there. Also the fact, and the worrying factor for me, Mr. Cherry, is of course the kind of statements we are seeing, not just from the Lok Sabha Speaker. There have been condemnations, outright ones, like you mentioned, Sena came out, Gaikwad-Air Raju, many others, but his own party, the Shiv Sena. Also the fact, and the worrying factor for me, Mr. Cherry, is of course the kind of statements we are seeing, not just from the Lok Sabha Speaker. There have been condemnations, outright ones, like you mentioned, Sena came out, Gaikwad-Air Raju, many others, but his own party, the Shiv Sena and party boss Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, have been curiously sitting on the fence here. This is a clear cut and dry issue. He in fact is using the Sena clout and saying that, look, we are Shiv Senics. This is what we are taught, this is what we do. I'm sure Mr. Uddhav Thackeray doesn't agree, but he has to be more forthright in coming forward and condemning this. Till now we haven't seen that, and that's a worrying factor here.
It is a worrying factor because even the gentle condemnation, the very polite condemnation by the few people from Parliament who've spoken out is clearly indication that they want to ring fence their privileges. And, this came through yesterday in Parliament when Mr. Jaitley said that, we are the only ones who will decide what our emoluments will be. But if you hear carefully, there is a upsurge of public feeling that our representatives using our tax money need not definitely claim to travel business class.
Absolutely.
There's no reason.
And bring disrepute not just to the August House, but clearly to the constituents who elected them. This man is not a Rajya Sabha nominated MP. He's an elected MP of the Lok Sabha there, from a party that has national ambitions. Now, I'm sure the constituents don't deserve the kind of behavior you've seen from Mr. Gaikwad. We're also being joined right now by R.K. Mishra. He's a fellow of the Carnegie, with Carnegie India. He joins us from Bangalore here. Mr. Mishra, politicians behaving badly is not really news in India, but there seems to be this churn now. There seems to be this feeling that this cannot go on for a very long time. Something has to give. And the kind of brazenness we've seen from Mr. Gaikwad, the lack of outright condemnation by his peers, by his own party boss, by his own party, I feel that something has to give at some point. And these people perhaps are going to end up on the wrong side of history of an emerging, aspiring India that they seem to have no clue about.
Man realizes the worst kind of politics, which I think Shiv Sena indulged in for a very long time. He said also that I'm a Shiv Sainik and I'm entitled to beat people up. And I think Shiv Sena has been shown the door during Bombay elections as well as the Maharashtra elections. I think this kind of politics, you saw what happened in UP, what is happening every other place. I think people of this country are changing. And I think it's a matter of time before these people become dinosaurs and die.
Well, entitlement really, the sense of entitlement that we speak of, especially visible in leaders like Mr. Gaikwad, who claims he's a teacher, he's a professor, and his partymen claim he's not a man who can be provoked easily. So even though they're condemning the violent nature of his act, they refuse to condemn the man who actually did it. We have two callers right now. We'll take those two calls and we'll go back to our guests in just a bit. From Chennai, Krishnan, and from Hyderabad, Ashok. Go ahead, Krishnan. All right, let's go to Ashok then, from Hyderabad. Ashok, Hyderabad? Not on the line. All right, we'll get more calls, I'm sure of it. Dilip Cherian, the fact, let's go to the police for a bit here. There's a man who confessed his crime on national television, then brazened it out completely. To top it all, he dares the Delhi police to try and arrest him if they can. What does the Delhi police do? They provide him an escort. They give him the leeway to file a counter report at the IGI police station. Do you think the police is being too cautious here? Because it is my understanding that the speaker only needs to know about an arrest. They don't need permission from anyone in the Lok Sabha to arrest an MP. Am I right?
Definitely to file a case, they don't need any permission. To arrest him, they need permission. And at that stage, they certainly will get the permission.
Is it permission or intimation? I'm kind of confused.
From what I've heard, and I've heard from a jurist this, that they need to get permission from the permission in the sense that they will inform them, and then there is a kind of response which comes. Yes. And I think aside from that, the police needs to understand that in performing this kind of activity, he is just a common citizen. And if suppose somebody else were to slap an employee of Air India like this, there would definitely be a clear action by the police, and the person would be festering in jail, hopefully by now.
And the charges are very serious. There are 2 FIRs against this honourable gentleman who's an honourable member of parliament. Now, there's not just delaying a flight by 40 minutes, which is a felony, but also physical assault, which is a criminal offence. Now, we have one more caller right now. Before I go across and talk about the right to recall debate and how it fits in this particular narrative, and how incidents like this fuel debate again and again, and rightly so, I would say. Girish from Bangalore is our next caller, and Mayank from Noida is also calling. So, Girish, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. And it's quite disgusting to have this kind of leaders as our parliamentarians. And it's time to get rid of such people, and this should not be left with what we are doing today. We should raise it up to a level where it becomes imperative for all the people to behave themselves.
Absolutely. Equal under the law, before the Constitution, of course, and not just in this particular case. Every time there is a felony, a criminal offence, that's the way it should be. Mayank from Noida is our next caller. Go ahead, Mayank.
Yeah. I'm watching this news for the past 41 hours. I mean, every hour, this news has been flashed, about this MP.
Yes.
Now, we as a citizen, it's really unfortunate that we have to fight for such a mere justice. Why do media channels have to try so hard? It's a right? This is really, and the other thing I want to make out is why Mr. Uddhav Thackeray is not taking a stand. Either he should condemn his MP or he should condemn the airline.
Clearly, fence sitting, I think the time for fence sitting is over, and the sooner the political class realizes it, I believe the better for them. Thank you, man, for calling in. Digant is our next caller. He's calling from Mumbai. Go ahead, Digant.
Yeah, hi. My point is that when Adityanath Yogi took over UP, he immediately instructed police to take into custody all those people standing outside schools and colleges. If such a decision can be taken for people who are randomly standing outside, why can't the Delhi police be instructed to arrest this MLA from Shiv Sena, from the place where I am in Maharashtra?
All right, I think the answer is in your question. This man is an MP. They have some sort of immunity, and as Dilip Cherian said, politicians and politicos seem to be closing ranks to protect one of their own. We've seen this happen before. It's not a new thing. We are hoping it'll change, but of course we'll keep an eye on the story. On the question and the point why the media is trying so hard, give us a choice, Mayank. We don't have a choice, Digant. Let's go across to Abhilasha from Karnataka, Vijay from Assembly. I told you, a lot of traffic here, a lot of traction on this story. We'll go to other reactions as well, but first, Abhilasha from Karnataka. Go ahead. Abhilasha, switch off your television and then go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
I've been not much in contact with the political issues going on,
Okay.
but if I'm just talking as a normal student who looks at this issue, I feel it's really right abusing a person physically like this.
All right, absolutely. There's nobody has the right, no matter what the provocation is. There's the provocation defense we heard of yesterday. Very weak, sticky wicket there. Doesn't hold up and will not hold up in court. Vijay from Assam is another caller. Go ahead, Vijay.
Vijay, hello. My point is that after his bizarre act, the gentleman has, not so gentleman has given an interview in the TV that why the all Air India employees has not gone for strike. So he was instigating the employees and trying to create a rucksack in the country. Is it fair? Is it right? Why?
Oh, it's not fair, but I completely agree with you. It's not fair at all to the other citizens, nor to the stewardesses or the staff of Air India, and of course the poor 62-year-old who got beaten up by a slipper 25 times. Certainly not fair to him. We'll go across to Dilip Cherian now. Very quick comment here before I go to other reactions, Dilip. The right to recall debate. It's been introduced in Parliament as a private member's bill. Many leading politicians say, although it's a desirable idea, it might not be a feasible one here. Do you believe more debate will be stirred because of cases like these? Because we speak about them whenever there is an example. And Gaikwad, I believe, is the biggest example in recent times.
You know, if you had a bunch of prisoners poll as to whether conditions in prison should be made tougher, would they vote for it?
Absolutely.
So you're really, not in a situation where parliamentarians across the board will vote for the fact that their terms can be artificially or in a sense realistically curtailed. That's the first thing. The second thing is that once they get into Parliament, the kind of cocoon of comfort that they get ensures that they forget that they represent the common man. Many of them, of course, are very active, very enthusiastic, and very with their people all the time, but it's always from a position of I am privileged. And I think that's the danger.
Yeah, that's the danger that needs to change. I don't think it'll be quick. I think even if there is a change, it'll be glacial at best, but we're hoping for one. Two more callers before I go back to Mr. Mishra here. Anand from Bangalore, Dr. Zakir Reddy from Hyderabad. Anand, go first.
Well, this man belongs to Shiv Sena, a party which is supposed to revere the great Maratha leader Shivaji. But then, well, this man belongs to Shiv Sena, a party which is supposed to revere the great Maratha leader Shivaji. But then, in the end of the day, all that you can see of these people is that they are hooligans, hoodlums, and it's unfortunate that the leader of that party has not said a word about this.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. I've raised this issue ever since the story broke here, and we are still surprised that Mr. Uddhav Thackeray hasn't spoken a word on this. He perhaps is trying to gauge reaction right now, but perhaps he should go with the public sentiment on this. Of course, we can't decide for him. We are still hoping that he'll enlighten us after he meets Mr. Gaikwad. He summoned him, remember, but hasn't outrightly condemned it. Zakir Reddy, Dr. Zakir Reddy from Hyderabad, please go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. I definitely condemn the MP behavior, hitting with shoes, all those things. But otherwise, this Air India officials or employees are so horrible, and the international traveler, they never assist even the handicapped people. You feel
well, that's
them
a separate
like
issue, Dr. Reddy. I said this yesterday in my debate. You cannot hit someone because a person, him or her, is inept at their job. You cannot hit people because they're incompetent. I'm not saying the Air India staff was incompetent. I'm just hypothetically saying there is no provocation that can be justified for the use of violence. You cannot hit people because you believe they're incompetent and not getting the service that you deserve and need. That's my only point. We'll take a quick break at this point. When we come back, we'll get some reactions as well we got throughout the course of the day. We'll speak to the lead chair in RK Mishra as well. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.